Becoming a more confident person is not something that you just wake up one morning and decide that you're going to be, and then you just magically are. Confidence is something that is built. It's not something that just happens on its own. It does require intention and effort and shifting how we are thinking, how we're thinking mostly about ourselves and what we are making the things around us mean about us. So today I'm going to talk about 5 ways to shift how you are thinking, to shift how you're interpreting things, and to show you how you currently might be interpreting certain things that are depleting your confidence, that are actually making you feel terrible about yourself. I'm going to teach you how to see those things differently so you can start having those shifts to start creating that more solid, secure, confident relationship with yourself. I think you're going to like these ones. Some of them run a little bit deeper, but they are really transforming. If you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. And if you are back again, say hello. I love being able to connect with all of you. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I'm a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my incredible membership community, the Shift Society, that you can get more information about in the description below. I help heart center go-getter men and women break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And having these shifts in how we are thinking, how we are acting, how we are interacting, and how we're showing up are going to help us build that solid, secure, confident relationship with ourselves. And the first shift that I want to invite you to start working on is learning to become, or practicing being more self-curious and less self-critical. So often we are the first to jump on our own backs. Why did you say that? Why did you do that? What's wrong with you? What are other people going to think about you? Why can't you just get over it? Why can't you just let it go? And we judge and we criticize ourselves, and then ultimately end up even feeling worse and even more stuck. And just really bad about ourselves, because who's going to feel good about someone who's always criticizing and judging them, who's always putting them down? If we were to project how we treat ourselves onto any other human being, we would not want to be around that person, because that person would make us feel terrible with how they were treating us. And so instead of the next time you say something or do something or feel something that you're tempted to judge yourself about or criticize yourself about, get curious. What's going on right now? Why am I feeling this way? What's coming up for me? What might be behind this? Why might I have said that? What was going on with me? Is it true that that person is going to automatically be judging me for doing that? Is it true that it was such a terrible, awful thing to do? Get curious. What's going on? The next thing that is going to help you build that confidence is, and this is such a big one, especially in the age of social media, is instead of doing so much comparing, really focus on doing more celebrating. And I know it's hard to see other people who have something that we want and then to feel bad about ourselves because we don't have it, or to even judge them for having it. Often, judgment is just about offsetting our own emotional pain, our own discomfort, and putting it onto someone else, and almost like blaming someone else for our feelings by being like, well, who do they think they are? And they're not that great. And why would they do something like that, right? It's just about offsetting our own emotions because we're feeling crappy, and that's, what human beings do. And so instead of comparing, instead of looking at what someone else has and making that mean something bad about us, or even judging them for it, to intentionally practice celebrating, being happy for them, knowing that someone else having something that we want doesn't mean that we can't have it. There's not like this limited amount of success or health or good feelings or good life that is available to human beings. And if someone has more of it, then it automatically means that we are going to have less of it. So celebrate, and bringing up those feelings through that celebration. Being able to look at someone and be like, well, if they can, then it means that it's possible. And that's great news. I'm going to celebrate that. Comparison just becomes depleting and frustrating and making us feel terrible. And don't get me wrong here. I have definitely fallen into the comparison trap, and it's useless. I just sort of realized this isn't helpful. I'm not gaining anything from this other than feeling terrible. But when I can truly take a step back, and when I can celebrate and feel good and just really just hold a space for another human being's choices, life, success, whatever it is, I feel great. I get to feel good. And then do you know what else? What happens when we feel good? We are more inspired to take action in the direction that we want to be going as well. When we're comparing, we just feel terrible. And when we feel terrible, all our human brain wants when we are feeling bad is to somehow get some kind of comfort. And usually that comfort is the easiest thing. If it's food or social media or gossiping or Netflix or whatever that is, it's not going to be the thing that's going to be moving us forward to the thing that we ultimately want that maybe or maybe not somebody else already has. So celebrating just naturally makes it so that we are able to also not only feel good, but be motivated to be moving forward in that direction. And then the next shift that I want to invite you to make, this shift in how you are thinking and showing up, that's going to change how you feel about yourself and creating that solid, secure, confident relationship with yourself, is to shift your relationship with failure. This is a big one. This is a hard one, especially for my perfectionists here. You know this one because you know of how many things that you are avoiding and preventing yourself from doing because you don't want to fail. And I'm going to say that it's not even the failure that you're afraid of, it's what you're going to make the failure mean. That you're going to make it mean something about you, that I'm not good enough, that I don't have what it takes, that I'm a loser, that I'm an idiot, that I am a failure. And you don't want to think those things. And so you don't want to potentially run the risk of having the failure. But what if you changed how you thought about failure? What if you didn't make failure mean anything about your value and worth as a human being? What if you completely unattached it from that and were like, okay, this didn't go the way that I wanted it to. I've got more things to learn. I've got different things to try. I'm going to go back to the drawing board and I'm going to reassess. Think about the things in your life that you are not doing because you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, and you're scared not of the failure, but how you are going to treat yourself if you do, what you're going to make that failure mean. Where are you not showing up in your life? What are you not starting? What are you not trying? What are you not growing? What are you not building? Personally, professionally, relationally, where are you holding yourself back because you have this idea of what failure is going to mean about you? So shifting what you make failure mean. And then you're going to be able to step into your life, be able to make the choices you want to make, moving forward in the ways that you want to. And you can't help but feel good about yourself when you are living in alignment with the things that are important to you, when you're not letting fear of failure dictate your life, make your choices for you. I promise you are going to feel so much better about yourself, even though you run the risk of failing. If you change what happens when you fail, that failure will not slay you. The next shift that I want to invite you to make, is going to help you feel more confident, is a shift in just going through life thinking that you're unworthy and shifting into believing that you are worthy. And I know I'm making this sound so simple, like, oh, just change how you think about it. I know that this takes work. I know that this takes intention. I know that you've been spending the majority of your life probably not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy enough, not feeling valuable enough, and creating and repeating those thoughts and beliefs in your head and looking for evidence every single day to prove those beliefs that you're not good enough. Someone looks at you sideways, someone criticizes you, someone rejects you, something doesn't turn out the way that you want it to, you have a feeling that you don't want to have, and you use all of those things as signs that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy enough, that you're not valuable enough. And it makes me think of this quote by someone in the field that I admire. Most of you probably know her. unless you've been living under a rock, but you may not know her, Dr. Brene Brown, who is a researcher, a social worker, PhD social worker, who has contributed so much to the field around shame and vulnerability and worthiness, and has done so much research, years and years and years, collected like tens of thousands of pieces of data. And what she found in her research is that the men and women who had a deep sense of worthiness, a deep sense of love and belonging, the only difference between them and the people who didn't have this deep sense of worthiness, this deep sense of love and belonging, is that the men and women who had that deep sense of love and belonging just believed they were worthy of it. Just believed they were worthy of it. Just because they were here on this planet, human beings who were here, they just believed that they were worthy of believing in their worthiness. That's it. The next shift that I want to invite you to look at is going to help you feel more comfortable and confident in who you are. And this is a more tangible one, but it makes a big difference in here, is to make and keep promises to yourself. Just looking at this logically, you would have a hard time feeling good about someone and really liking someone or really trusting someone if they kept making promises to you and then just breaking them. Just not really thinking that it was all that important to keep them. Not really thinking that you were important enough to keep them. You probably wouldn't want to stay all that close to that person. You probably wouldn't want to spend all that much time with that person. You might even want to justifiably not have that person in your life if they were constantly lying to you, making promises and breaking them and not valuing you. And we think about that. And we also think about how when we make promises to other people, many of us wouldn't even think of breaking them. Of course I'm going to live up to my word. Of course I want that person to trust me. Of course I know a close, connected, safe relationship requires follow through, requires living up to your word, requires fulfilling what you said you were going to do, keeping that confidence, keeping that trust. And we don't think twice about breaking those promises with other people, but we break them with ourselves every single day. It's not that important. I can do it tomorrow. Oh well, not that big of a deal. No one's looking. Nobody's going to notice. It's not going to affect anyone else. So we break those promises to ourselves. We promise ourselves that we're going to be kinder to ourselves. We promise ourselves that we are going to get out. We're going to move our bodies so that we can be feeling better. We promise ourselves that we are going to go to bed earlier. We promise ourselves that we're not going to work so late. We promise ourselves that we're not going to push ourselves so hard. We promise ourselves that we are going to be kinder to ourselves. We promise ourselves that we are not going to spend 3 hours on social media. We promise ourselves that we're not going to stay up until the middle of the night, binge watching Netflix, and then feeling exhausted and emotional the next day. Oh well, no one's going to notice. Not that big of a deal. It's not going to impact anyone else. And thinking about how little we value our own well-being by just continuing to break our promises to ourselves. And I'm not saying that you have to be this really rigid person who does everything right, who wakes up at 5 a.m. and does their meditations and their morning pages and their gratitude and their workout and their like egg white omelet and then starts the day. Absolutely not. I don't personally think that you have to live a certain way in order to feel good about ourselves, because as we know, our feeling good, how we feel about ourselves, is created by our thoughts. But you get to decide what those things are that are important to you. Not what society tells you, what you think you should be doing or how you think you should be living, but what actually makes sense for you. What does your routine look like? What does your day look like? What is your investment in intentional choices in your life? What do those look like that allow you to be feeling and showing up the way that you want to be? Starting small with these. And I'm going to tell you, you have to start small. If you're someone who has a habit of making and breaking promises to yourself, it's probably part of it is because you're taking on too much and it's just too much for your brain. And it's like, this is just going to be way too hard, way too uncomfortable. It's so much easier to just not do these things. And so starting small, what's one small commitment that you can make to yourself today? Let me know in the comment section below. What's one small, very doable, very achievable commitment that you can make to yourself that you know that you can keep? That would almost take more effort to like battle yourself, to like talk yourself out of doing it than to actually just do it. Let me know in the comment section below. Practicing rebuilding this relationship with ourselves. We don't think it counts, keeping promises to ourselves. It absolutely does. This right here is listening. It's interpreting. It's how it's understanding. Oh, well, I can just break promises with myself. I can just not fulfill what I say I was going to do and how I was going to take care of myself, how I was going to show up. I can just break that and that doesn't matter. Which is ultimately what our brain is hearing is, I don't matter. And it's really hard to feel good about someone, to feel solid and secure with someone who doesn't think we matter. If building your relationship with yourself so that you can feel more deeply confident is something that you want to be intentional about, then I want to invite you to get my Intentional Self Journal. It's a free download. It's going to walk you through a process to be more intentional about how you are thinking, how you are feeling, and how you are showing up every single day. You can get that in the description below. Also, make sure you get on the wait list for the Shift Society. There's more information about that there as well. If you like this video, please do like it, share it out. There's other people that you think would be helped by these shifts and how we're thinking to cultivate this deeper relationship with ourselves, then please do share it with them. And if you do, let me know in the comments so I can thank you, because that means a lot to me. Until next time, take good care.